He's a bounty hunter, you moron. When Joey did Taekwondo in lockdown on Zoom, he had the same instructors, but he learnt fucking nothing.
Kylo Ren is a Sith who got trained via Zoom.
Essentially,
That
I
is my
came back to a
all-time
great moment.
favorite fucking breakdown of Kylo Ren versus fucking Darth Vader. I love it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm your host, Kamilian, and I have here with me two friends and a piece of furniture from Beast Castle who has been cursed into a human until they find their one true love. Who is who? You'll have to wait till later. I don't know who that is. But I do know their names. In no particular order, we have Matt, Rem, and Tegan.
I'm a wardrobe.
Wardrobe. I'm a real boy. Anyway, cool. So tonight, as you can see down the Star Wars. Last week was basically tell us a game that you have to constantly defend liking, and we went round in a very orderly manner and had a polite discussion. Tonight is simply Star Wars because this is gonna just get super spicy and
Because
chaotic
last week
very
we
quickly.
ended up talking about it and got it a little bit heated.
Mhm.
So we're putting a 2-hour time limit on this. I've got a clock going. So if we do cut it short, that's it, 2 hours. But we're going to also try to keep this mainly focused around episodes 4 through 6. We'll see how we go. Reality is we're probably not going to do that. But anyway, let's just kick this off straight out of the gate. Boba Fett's overrated.
Oh my god, you want to start there? You want to start
Of course,
there?
that's the point you start with.
That's where he's going to start.
I'm standing in the middle of a bullpen, surrounded by gates, just waving a fucking flag. Butt naked.
Yeah,
You do
yeah.
have to realise that Boba Fett came along in a very different time as well.
Look, Boba Fett, he was a small side character in the original series, in the original trilogy, right? But even in that, he actually gets singled out by Darth Vader. Like Darth Vader's walking along past all these fucking bounty hunters, and he stops and looks dead at Boba Fett and says, "No disintegration," and then keeps moving on. He singles him out because he's so worried about him being so effective that there won't be a Han Solo left.
Yeah, but
Princess Leia will just be fucking disintegrated.
But his response to Vader is just a quote from the Princess Bride. Just fucking as you wish.
Because that's so
Because
unique
it's Darth Vader.
to Princess Bride.
Oh,
But
yeah,
it's
They
just
started it. Princess Bride totally started that.
no. But he's got less than 4 minutes in the entire original trilogy on screen, and all of his quotes can be put into a single tweet.
I'm sorry, where was the standard written that the amount of lines you have and your screen time makes effectiveness of character?
4 minutes.
I don't give a shit.
Less than 4 minutes of screen time.
There have been plenty of characters that have had minuscule parts in TV shows, but they're known for that part in particular.
Yeah, but
And
they don't get.
Just want to take this out of. Sorry, before you go any further, going back to your Princess Bride comment, did you check the release date on both movies?
Yes, I know. I'm not saying the.
So
I'm not saying
they stole it off Princess Bride.
I
Is
didn't
like
say they stole
the
off Princess
Matrix
Bride.
stole Zion off. Bob Marley stole Matrix off Zion.
Oh my god! Don't even go there. Don't even go there. I legit had a friend. We were at a club. We were at an African nightclub listening to Bob Marley, and he comes up to me and says, "Tegan, this fucking song ripped off The Matrix." And I looked at him and went, "What?" And he said, "Zion, that's from The Matrix." And I went, "Oh my god!" So yeah, don't start me on that, Matthew. I'll be here all
Like,
fucking
okay. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of extended, like, canon and extended universes, etc., right? But before all of that was in existence, Boba Fett got a huge cult following just from episodes 5 and 6.
Yes, that's correct.
And I, for one, just don't understand why. He's wearing a a bucket with a child's plastic chest piece.
With like a missile over the fucking shoulder, and like it's like a
It's a missile coming up behind his
heavy
head.
armor.
He's got to lean forward, look at the
But,
ground,
like,
and shoot it.
It's like a sci-fi heavy armor, and like, and again, removing all the extended universe shit. If the only Star Wars you've ever been exposed to is episodes 4, 5, and 6, that dude still looks fucking sweet. Everyone else is running around in like all the other bounty hunters are running around like their heads exposed. This dude's running around with like a fucking knight's helmet on.
Yeah. Also, I'd like to point out one thing. He first appeared in number 4, so he appeared literally at the start.
He
of
first appeared in number 5.
Star Wars Episode 4, he makes an appearance in.
Oh yeah, yeah. In the 90s, not the 70s. He's re-edited back in. His first appearance was in episode 5.
So
I'm just going off of what Google says in Star Wars Episode 4, New Hope.
let
I
me
know.
just put something to you, okay? Before the 1, 2, and 3 came out, okay, right? Everybody loved Obi-Wan Kenobi. He was only in episode 4, not 5 or 6. He didn't have a massive, massive big part. And he was universally loved. So why does your criteria not apply to him as well?
Is Obi-Wan Kenobi not in 5 and 6?
Not in, you know what I'm saying? He's not there.
The ghost is only the ghost.
It's
He
a
fucking
ghost,
dies
dude.
in like the first hour of the movie.
So he's supposed to be this fucking famous Jedi, but if you take him only on what you see and know from 4, 5, and 6, how is he any more effective than what Boba Fett is portrayed?
Yeah.
You get
Also, I would like to point out one thing in this. I'll just put it into the side tab on here's out, but if you have a look at the poster for The Empire Strikes Back, Boba Fett, near the biggest thing on there.
I have
is that
poster
the
up
original
here.
poster?
Yep, that's the Empire Strikes Back poster. He is right front and center. So, of course, people are going to look at that compared to the other things there. And it's going to be one of the big things they see. So, even though he did not have that much time, he had a lot of hype behind him.
So let's just put this in perspective for a sec. Just to answer or follow on for Tegan's Tegan's comment. To give Boba that kind of presence or that level of understanding to the viewer, to Boba's credit, 100%, Vader singles him out and points at him and goes, "No disintegration," right? Which is meant to kind of give you the whole, hey, he's serious, he's dangerous and all this kind of stuff. That's about it. Apart from Chewie going, bah, right? And Han going, what, Boba Fett? Turning around and then knocking Boba Fett off into the oblivion. The fact that he knew Boba Fett was Boba Fett, that's about it, right? So we know he's got the reputation from somewhere. Cool. Okay.
Just again, you go back and compare, like Tegan was saying, like Obi-Wan is meant to be this all-powerful, all-kick-ass
I'm getting
Jedi.
there.
He mind fucking tricks a bunch of dumbass stormtroopers, like a bunch of fucking Nazi lined soldiers is what they are. He mind fucking tricks a bunch of them, and that's all he really does. He hides from other ones.
To be fair, he scares off some sand people
Oh,
too.
sorry, he scans off so like.
And that's still more than Boba does. Boba's claim to fame was capturing Han Solo, and he did that for less than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
He had one action scene of note.
He flew around with a fucking jetpack, dude.
Yeah, and that immediately got destroyed, and he got thrown off and killed by a stationary antagonist.
It shows that he's not a real Mandalorian right there.
A stationary antagonist.
Yep.
Let him finish his comments
Anyway.
about Obi-Wan, and then we're going to come back to that.
Obi-Wan, you get more than just the don't notice integration. You get the hints of, oh, you fought with my father in the Clone Wars. You get obviously him physically using the Force. You get the whole Uncle Ben vibe thing. You know what I mean, right? You get the whole kind of, you get the vibe. You get the presence of him knowing Vader, the whole my old master thing. So you see Vader, and if Vader having a master, an ex-master, that trumps any hidden lore and backstory that
But
Boba's
then he
got.
gets fucking wrecked by Vader.
Does he though?
Yeah.
Wrecked?
Yeah.
He
fucking
stands
dies.
there and lets Vader get him.
No, I actually disagree with Matt on that point, and I'm not trying to claim that Boba Fett is better than Obi-Wan. I'm arguing your point that screen time and the storyline that you're shown equals greatness of character, because equally they have about the same. And it's about the way you look at the presents. So I watched Star Wars as a
Obi-Wan's
young
screen
girl.
time is far superior to that of Boba's entire
I
run
agree
in the
with you.
trilogy.
I agree with you, but I'm saying that is not the only marker of what makes a character
No,
great
you are
or
correct.
intimidating.
You are
So
correct.
your whole basis that you said his armor looks plastic and shit. I'm sorry, it was the fucking 70s, Kami. Compare that movie to all the newer movies. It all looks like shit.
Yes, you are correct.
Technologically and costumes.
Yes.
So your basis for that is really bullshit and unfair.
The-
Second of all, shut up and let me finish. Second of all, you've had your say. Sorry, I'm getting all fiery already. It's early.
I love it.
Second of all, so as a young girl, I was like, what, Luna's age when I first saw Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
Boba Fett was terrifying because of the lack of, it was the intimidating force that you don't see doing anything, but everyone in the fucking universe is scared of him. Everybody is scared of him. He stands next to Jabba the Hutt and doesn't have to do a thing. And everybody in that room knows you do not fuck with Boba Fett. That is terrifying. And that, in and of itself, sets the scene of who his character is, what he is capable of, and why he has such a huge following that he does.
Well, this is the thing. There's so much mystery around him of like, why is he fucking, basically on first name terms with Darth Vader? Why is he just fucking hanging around with Jabba and not having a bit of ounce of fear in his fucking body language? Like, what has he fucking done?
Why do
Like, for
all
him to have the reputation that, like, I have to specifically tell this dude, don't fucking disintegrate people. Like, what has he done? Like,
Chewbacca is scared of him? Every bounty hunter is scared of him. What more do you want? I don't understand your basis of saying that, oh, he didn't have enough screen time, he didn't have enough lines, so he's a shit character. Why do people like him?
Okay.
Mm.
Let's go to what.
that's what I'm
Let's
hearing.
go to the quality of that screen time then. Okay, I get your point, and I, for the purpose of this conversation, concede to your point. The quality of screen time. He has one action scene of note, and that's in Return of the Jedi. He has one verbal line in Return of the Jedi, and that is a scream. Moving away from that, he has one action scene of note. Yes, flies across on an amazing, cool jetpack. We haven't, it's new, it's different, it's cool. Flies across, lands, fails to shoot anybody, just like a stormtrooper, and then gets bumped off the barge, rockets into the side of Jabba's floating thing, and then just plummets like any stormtrooper would down into the pit.
after he has a lightsaber swung at him, and unlike the other stormtroopers and other random dudes that he's fighting who like die instantly, he actually like survives. He's fucking around long enough where everybody else you see get hit with a lightsaber is just bang dead. Thanks for playing. He actually fucking tanks a lightsaber hit.
Because of his armor.
Granted, it fucks up his ear, but yeah, because of his armor. Like again, it's without taking again, assuming that you know nothing about any extended lore of Star Wars. Like it's like how the fuck like all these stormtroopers are like the best elite gear and the best elite soldiers for the Empire
also have armor.
who also have armor, and he's just fucking going through them like a hot knife through butter. And meanwhile, this dude is like, well, fucking, he hit him, and he didn't just melt, like he didn't just chop him in two. What the fuck?
And as to your fact of he only has 4 minutes of screen time, some of the most popular characters in movies have had next to no screen time.
And that annoys me.
I'm trying to think of an example of one, Rem.
Edna
Uncle
Mode,
Ben.
Incredibles.
Yep. That's a good one. She's
What
she's one of the
yeah.
most popular characters.
What
And
is the most
she has more
quotable
character than
line from
Boba
The
Fett.
Incredibles?
Boba Fett has character.
Did you seriously just say that?
I did.
Oh
I did. I
God.
did.
Oh my God. She has more.
This is why I have content for days when it comes to hear me out, because I have got so much stuff that the rest of the world can agree on that I just go, nah, fuck off.
Well, I tell you what, you've triggered Joey something shocking because he watched your Boba Fett video and he came out, and I've never seen that boy rant so much in my entire life.
He gets it off the mother.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. He literally started one of the what's called the movie things. Essentially, the strong guy coming in, beating up who used to be believed to be the strongest one to assert the dominance in the thing. Because remember, back when Han Solo was first introduced, he was introduced as the uncatchable
Who?
character. Han
Yep.
Solo. He was introduced having made the Kessel Run in so many light years, being able to escape everyone.
In 12 parsecs, but yeah, who captured Solo? Mitch.
Boba Fett.
Did he?
Yep.
He tracked the ship. Who captured him?
Boba Fett.
Nope. Boba Fett enters the room once they've surrendered to Vader. He's a chicken shit. He's tracked them there and gone, Vader,
Boba
come
Fett.
help, they're here.
Oh, the guy that took on the lightsaber is chicken shit.
Boba Fett was like, you have the obvious bait in the room, and the obvious bait is like, hey, fuck me, it's Darth Vader. And then Boba Fett comes in and points a gun at him.
Once they've already given up, they have conceded to Vader, and then he comes in from behind Vader with a gun, like going, oh, by the way, I'm here too. He didn't capture them. Vader captured them. He sat back and just let it happen.
Out of frame, man. Out of frame.
Out of frame. Out of frame. He's clearly out of the room, or way behind a pillar.
I think part of it's also like that. What makes him so awesome is that he has that air of mystery about him. You know a lot about all the other characters, but he's got this intimidating presence in the universe where everyone is scared of him. He's, Darth Vader's go-to bounty hunter. He's working for the Hutts, rah, 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 rah. But we as a viewer know nothing about him, and people love that shit. People love crap like that. It's why that stupid singing competition is so friggin' popular. Not that I like it, where they wear the masks. It's that air of mystery that you don't know a lot about him. And so when the story starts to unpack as the other movies are released, and then obviously Mandalorian and obviously further on, it gets more exciting because you're building depth of character then.
You know
Someone
how
that's
much I love
iconic
lore and the
'cause he's
mystery of
iconic.
things, and it just didn't entice me. I just don't see the
The
appeal.
thing is, if 4, 5, and 6 came out as a brand new series today, right? And obviously with improved visuals and all the shit, but the same story, right? The same story, just pretty new pieces, and it was brand new to the world. People would still have the same reaction about Boba Fett, right? Again, like there's no Star Wars in the universe, and then suddenly these 3 movies roll out. They look fucking phenomenal. It's actually got Obi-Wan and Darth Vader doing flips and shit again, and like properly throwing shit around the room. But people would still have the same interest in Boba Fett because he hits those old school movie tropes. Like it's the big scary dude that you know that he's scary, and it's implied that he's scary, but you never actually see him do any real violence. That threat of
He
violence
created the
is
tropes.
Yeah.
He
He created
absolutely.
a lot of tropes. Yeah.
That threat of violence and that threat of power is more powerful than the actual, like, him coming out and like gunning down entire squads as people.
I agree, because the second he actually does put in some effort, he trips, stumbles, gets whacked once, and falls into a pit.
He doesn't trip and stumble.
So, I mean, it doesn't trip. You know what
That's
I'm making a
No,
point. I'm making a point.
If you're making factual statements about his screen time and what happens, make factual statements.
Okay.
Don't add your personal interpretation because you don't like him. He did
Okay.
not trip
Factual
before.
statement then, when he
fucking took
actually gets
on-
involved,
He took on
Against a fucking
Luke
Jedi.
fails
Skywalker.
miserably.
He took on Luke Skywalker, who is who, the Return of the Jedi, the most important blah, blah, blah.
I'm not a big fan of Luke's either. Don't get me started on that. But anyway,
No, well, neither am
Yeah.
I, but that's also not the point.
And
He
that's the
took on
thing.
a fucking a Jedi, so you're upset because Luke survived and didn't get killed by Boba Fett, and that's why you
Like
don't like Boba Fett?
the
No,
main
no, no, no.
antagonist didn't just die horribly against Boba Fett. Like if it had have actually been Jango Fett, I'm pretty sure that Luke Skywalker would be dead, and that'd be the end of the trilogy.
Django didn't fare much better. To be fair,
Django had experience fighting against Jedi
Jedi.
before
this
that.
is true. This is true, and he did
Boba Fett didn't.
die to one of the most powerful Jedi out there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Look at his fight with Obi-Wan, and he kicks the shit out of him.
Yeah. Not just that. Remember, this was back in a time where internet and all that kind of shit wasn't a thing. So even before people had gone into the theater, they had heard about Boba Fett, and they literally put Boba Fett up as the next major villain beside Darth Vader. Yes, they may not have followed through on it as well as they could have because of all the shit that happened with the Sarlacc pit thing, but people went into it already thinking that he was the next major villain, which made it so that he was built up in their brains. And back then, there was nothing out there to tell you, oh yeah, such and such happens. This spoiled for everybody before you even get into the fucking theater.
And that's the thing, like so many movies these days, like whether it's Star Wars, whether it's MCU, whatever movie series it is, the day that that movie is released, there is so much information, right? Like even
Before the
Black Adam has
movie's
come out
released.
recently, right? I've intentionally kept my head in the sand. I haven't read reviews, but on my Facebook feed, it is interviews with the actors. It's people talking about how good the movie is. Like there's all that information out there, right? And yet Boba Fett, with none of that information being out there, people not being able to wildly speculate on the internet, still has that level of popularity.
I don't disagree with that at all. It's just I don't understand why. It does not compute in my tiny brain as to how and why
Tiny brain.
Tiny brain.
he got to such height in popularity.
Well,
Because
Symbolism. It's
Yeah.
absolute symbolism. His helmet, the whole package, it is pure symbolism. When you've got the bad guy as Darth Vader, like that dude was terrifying as a kid. I
Yeah.
don't know if you guys are scared of him. I was shit scared of Darth Vader until I was like a young adult. Okay. And maybe even still now I'm a little bit scared of Darth Vader. Right.
Mm.
But it is that symbolism because it's that iconic. When you think of Star Wars, you think of, all the stormtroopers who can't hit for shit. You've got all of these people. What's the word I'm looking for? All of these, red shirts, for lack of a better term.
yeah, all the peons.
Thank you. All the peons. And then you have in the center of this just physically very intimidating character that you don't know much about with a very unique, iconic look. All the stormtroopers look like mini Darth Vaders, but they're white. All the other bounty hunters are wearing stupid shit. The Jedi have their own dress code, everyone has, but his is just so far different from all of theirs. And that's why he's so iconic. He stands out in a crowd.
That's the thing. You look at the other bounty hunters, like even the one that Greedo that approaches
Yeah.
Han at the start.
Yeah.
They all look very samey. Now, again, part of that is the limitations of technology, but it's all that rubber mask effect. Like they've all got the rubber. You can tell that they're rubber masks on, and
They're all arrogant as well. They're all extremely arrogant, and they have to talk themselves up about how fucking good they are. Boba Fett doesn't need to do that.
and that's the thing. Like going back to the arrogance thing in your comment that he's hiding somewhere. Like if you're going to ambush somebody, cool, you've got great armor. That's nice. You're still not going to put yourself in a position where people are just like, there he is, shoot him. Like because
That's
it's fucking
exactly
dumb.
what he does in episode 6.
He flies to try and help Jabba and do what he needs to do.
Flies out to try and recapture Solo.
Yeah.
Else.
If that fight scene was remade today,
Darth
that would be like
Vader-
a 30-minute fight scene between
Darth
Boba
Vader,
and Luke Skywalker, just so you're aware.
Darth Vader failed to kill Luke. Does that make Darth Vader a failure?
I really dislike that scene.
It doesn't matter. That's not the
Vader should
question
have
I
kicked
asked.
his ass.
That is not the question I asked. He didn't kill him, so is he also a failure? Obi-Wan
Yes.
didn't kill Darth Vader. Is he also a failure?
Yes.
See how your standards do not work when you apply them to other characters?
Oh dear.
Not just that. Remember when it came out, late 1970s.
1980 for episode 5.
But yeah, look at the other movies of that day. Back then, there was no excessively high quality special effects armor kind of shit. He did look badass for the day.
Fucking earth he did.
Yes, nowadays when like you see how they would have made his armor today with the Mandalorian.
Well, that's the thing. But actually, one of the credit things on Book of Boba Fett is his armor looks so true to the original trilogy. Like it really does. They've done an
See,
amazing job of it.
I actually really like how they didn't upscale the
Yeah.
visuals too much. They kept it very, very true to the original. They didn't try to make it.
And they've done that a lot across a
Yeah.
lot of the stuff with it as
Yeah.
well. Like you watch the alien like horse looking things that they're on, and they still have that obvious like animatronic or that like really stiff puppet movement. Like there's no CGI. It doesn't look like the CGI effect. Like
Well, just as an example, look at the difference between the wargs in Lord of the Rings compared to The Hobbit. So obviously technology greatly advanced. So the wargs look really awesome in The Hobbit, but in The Lord of the Rings, you're kind of like, oh god, they're pretty dodgy looking Muppets. But
Hmm.
the Star Wars whole franchise hasn't done that. They've kept true to whatever was original that we visually have already seen, which I really liked.
Yeah.
but going back, sorry, on
Sorry.
you getting salty that Luke beat Darth Vader, do you really think that Luke actually just kicked the shit out of Darth Vader, or do you think Darth Vader started pulling his punches
Well, that's it
Wait, which fight are we talking about here?
at the end?
at the end.
Of 6?
Yeah, episode 6.
Why would Vader, a Sith, lose on purpose?
Because it's his kid.
But he's a Sith.
Yeah, and being a
This
Sith
does
is all
not
about
mean the end all darkness.
Sith is all about, and it talks about in like every movie, but it's all about like embracing your passions, embracing love, embracing, whatever the fuck you want to do. It's not actually evil, it's just a selfish mentality.
So
Like it's
Vader is going to let himself be killed so his son can take his place.
absolutely.
And that's the thing. The son originally was not going to take his place in such a way. Until Disney got a hold of him, he was going to be the universe's first grey Jedi.
You know that recently Lucas has gone on record saying there's no such thing as a Grey Jedi.
That's because Lucas has gone fucking nuts recently. Well, not recently, but
That's because
You get
Disney
what I
backed a
mean.
truckload of money up to his house and said, "So, what are your thoughts on Grey Jedi?"
yeah, because not just that, you know that what's his name, the guy who played Mace Windu.
Yeah.
Samuel Jackson.
The only way that he agreed to that was if it could be kept specifically vague as to whether or not he was a Jedi or a Grey Jedi.
And a purple lightsaber.
And a purple lightsaber.
Yeah, which was actually hint.
I've never
hinting
heard
towards
the
halfway
thing of
between.
Samuel L. Jackson wanting to be a Grey Jedi. I've never heard that. I've only ever heard the stuff of him wanting a purple lightsaber.
Which is awesome.
Engraved on his lightsaber is motherfucker.
Nice.
Not even kidding.
But
Even Ginger's piping up now saying that you're wrong. It just had to be
Just had to be
purple.
purple.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never heard Samuel L. Jackson going on about Grey Jedi. He just wanted a purple lightsaber.
fair enough.
Didn't give a fuck about the law of the world at all. But yeah, no, absolutely. Darth Vader through that fight, 100%. And
Well,
he was always planning to. The intention was that Luke would step up and become a Sith as well. So he'd like be father and son, and it'd all be so fucking beautiful. And he would actually get to feel the love that he has for his son, which they're allowed to do as a Sith. Like it's not just about
Palpatine
hatred for
wouldn't
Sith.
allow it.
No, Palpatine wouldn't have allowed it. But when Luke refused, Palpatine was ready to have like Darth Vader and presumably Darth Skywalker running around together. He was fully prepared for that. That was his plan from all along, is to turn Luke rather than kill him. When Luke refused, that's when Sidious tried to kill him, and then that's when Darth Vader fucked up Sidious, like allegedly.
Allegedly.
It's okay. He got better.
His consciousness or his essence did, I guess. Body was destroyed.
Yeah. His body got fucked up in his fight versus Mace Windu, though. So
Yeah.
And I was wrong, sorry, it wasn't Mace Windu, the one who they thought might have been a Grey Jedi, which is actually stated by one of the canon characters in one of the books that has not been made non-canon, is actually Qui-Gon Jinn. Evoker
kind of
You
makes
states,
actually see that, yeah.
Jinn always does things his own way, always sure he is right, always incredulous if we do not see it his way. Some think he is a Grey Jedi.
You actually also see that in 1, 2, and 3 when everyone's like, "Oh, but Master Yoda said this," and Qui-Gon's like, "Yeah, but sometimes you have to think like this."
Qui-Gon's only in episode 1.
He's only in episode
Oh,
1.
She said 2 and 3 as well.
ah,
in
fair
the
enough.
second trilogy.
You pulled me up for nonsense before. I had to pay it back in kind. Oh dear.
But again, you want to talk about like Star Wars being about fan service. The like Yoda in the original trilogy, like yes, he's an old mentor, but his main claim to fame is that he uses the Force to pull the ship out of the swamp. Like he's like, but he's there as a mental role. Like he's not like a fucking
I
super strong
feel
dude. Except
I feel like the Yoda conversation is Boba but flipped between us. Like everything you argued for Boba,
no. I
love
fucking
Yoda.
love. I fucking love Yoda, right? But
But what
let
we're
me
saying-
fucking argue your point.
No, but what we're saying is if they're your standpoints of why Boba Fett shouldn't be this great, amazing character, they need to apply to every character. And Yoda is very similar in vein.
I agree,
he
but I
has-
believe the
he
points
has
that
more
you've
words. He has more words. But really, what is he other than annoying people and running around hitting them with sticks?
definitely I agree with that, and I stand by what I've said and the points I've used. And to your credit, the points that you've used, I believe that the points that you've I guess spoken about for Boba are even greater for Yoda. Like using the exact same
Agreed.
points. I believe that they do it more, they give more of that same
Agreed.
stuff
Yeah,
to
I
Yoda.
agree.
So I
Yoda
agree with what you're saying, that characters need those aspects. And what they did with Boba, they did better with Yoda. Boba, they did better with Yoda, yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like at least the cinema I was in when I saw episode 2, and tell me if anybody else had a different experience. But I was very young at the time. But when Yoda, like when you see
When he
Count
walks
Dooku,
in with his crutch.
yeah, but when Count Dooku, like he goes, they're starting to fight, and he's like, this battle won't be decided by knowledge of the Force, and he like whips out his lightsaber, and then you just see Yoda like whip out his thing. The cinema fucking exploded. Like the whole cinema was just like cheering, clapping, laughing. Fucking everything was going. Everyone was going crazy.
Both episode 1 and episode 2 had Captain America grabbing Mjolnir moments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? The double-sided saber from Maul, Yoda whipping out his lightsaber. They both had those atmospheric moments. You had to be there. Yeah. And Yoda whipping out his saber. I mean, I was one of them. I'm bouncing up, and my cinema was pretty quiet because people, I don't know, my cinema, I guess the area I was in, it was just respectful. It was quiet, but everyone, you could see everyone just kind of, you keep bouncing up and down. The gasps, they kind of gasp.
The cinema I was in, so a family friend of mine took me to see episode 1, 1 and 2.
Yep.
When they first came out. He was a massive Star Wars nerd, like absolutely loved it. So we were there like within, I think, the day or the day after it got released. because he wanted to fucking see it. Like,
I was there on release day.
yeah, I think we were there. I think it might have been release day, and so the cinema was absolutely packed.
Oh my god, the line was
The
ridiculous.
line was fucked, but the line was at like the cinema was absolutely packed. Like they had multiple sessions showing within 10 minutes of each other at the time, and the whole fucking cinema just erupted as soon as Yoda pulled out his lightsaber. You talk about Boba Fett and everything that comes with Boba Fett being fan service, like that is the ultimate fucking fan service. That
Yeah.
fight didn't need to be in there. That fight didn't make a difference to the story because ultimately, like, I mean, the only thing is potentially Obi-Wan and Anakin die in that scene instead. But like that really doesn't make a huge impact to the story of the two fighting. It could have been any fucking Jedi, any Jedi Master turning up. Like if it had been fucking Samuel L. Jackson turning up as Mace Windu, nobody would have fucking batted an eyelid. It would be like, oh cool, Samuel L. Jackson, he's
Do you
fighting
remember
someone new.
who Count Dooku's master was?
Yoda.
It had
Yoda.
to be Yoda.
Yep.
It had to be Yoda that turned up. I disagree with the point of it could have been any Jedi. I also
No,
disagree with the fact that it had a minor impact on the story because, as you said yourself, had he not shown up, both Obi-Wan and Anakin would be dead.
They could have also had a squad of stormtroopers run in, or as I said,
I
like
think that they wouldn't have
the
had much
impact
impact.
of the fight with Yoda was a massive piece of fan service. It could have been, as I said, any of the other masters turn up and fight Count Dooku.
The
At the
entire
same sort of
TV series of the Book of Boba Fett is just one big fan service.
Yeah.
and this fan was living for every moment of it.
I
That
fucking loved it all.
series was brilliant.
I heard rumors
Brilliant.
about season 2. Boba Fett
Yes.
might actually make an appearance in season 2.
I'm gonna come up there and smack you.
Yeah, no, seriously, at the time of airing, the majority of people's favorite episodes were episodes that involved the Mandalorian and not Boba.
That was because The Mandalorian brought in so much lore from the extended universe, like a universe that had basically been scrubbed from existence, right?
hmm
The Mandalorian brought so much of that back in. So
mm
a lot of these diehard fans with The Mandalorian were getting what they wanted on the fucking TV, on their screens. Like,
I actually didn't love that they included so much of the Mandalorian's lore in the Book of Boba Fett. That's one thing I didn't like about it. I thought, well, you didn't wrap the Mandalorian up in the way the one you wanted to, and I felt like they hijacked Boba's story. I really enjoyed Boba Fett's story.
I enjoyed the current day scenes. I wasn't overly happy, or I guess what's what I'm looking for. I wasn't really captured by the prior scenes, closer to when he escaped from the Sarlacc. It just didn't
flashbacks
kind of.
I like it. Yeah.
It didn't. I mean,
I,
escaping the
love
Sarlacc, that was cool. That was cool. But I'm still in the camp of he should have remained dead. But the scenes of him in amongst the Sand People and kind of almost retconning them to a degree, I wasn't a huge fan of. Current day
loved that.
stuff, I enjoyed. My butt left the seat and I almost hit the roof when Cad Bane showed up, though.
But the thing is, your argument about he shouldn't have escaped the Sarlacc pit. The thing is, when you do factor in extended universe, and granted, yes, it's not canon anymore, but when you do factor in this extended universe and you talk about Old Republic, the Mandalorians were fucking badasses. Like they were out there fighting wars with the fucking Jedi and holding their own. And it's more Jedi than were around during episodes 1, 2, and 3. Like it is like they were a fucking army. They were holding their own against them. Like every other group that tried to fight Jedi could not deal with their lightsabers and blasters. So the Mandalorians basically invented lead bullets. They would fire chunks of metal so that as they tried to deflect it, it would still scatter out and fucking hit the Jedi. Like that is, their arm was built to survive lightsabers, to survive basically any
Yeah.
situation. And again, with more stuff coming out with the Mandalorian talking about Briscar and all sorts of stuff like that, it shows like again he's not actually a Mandalorian, but he has the Mandalorian armor. His father, he was cloned based off the original clone troopers, the original stormtroopers. Yeah, he has the same makeup, and they brought this guy in because he was brought Jango Fett in because he was a fucking badass. Like he was known to be a fucking badass.
I can't quite recall, but doesn't the Mandalorian? I forget his actual character name, but doesn't he only allow Boba to keep his armor because he has become Mandalorian somehow?
Say that again, sorry.
I don't remember this properly, but
No,
I
I didn't
remember the
hear.
scuffle in the Mandalorian. When Boba, tries to reclaim his armor, or does reclaim his armor, one of the two, and has a small scuffle with the Mandalorian, and he's allowed to keep it because it was a foundling. There we go. Okay, sorry. Yeah, Junior said a foundling. But yeah.
He assumed that he was a foundling. He says from the word go that this is my father's armor. And that is part of the Mandalorian tradition is, passes down father to son, son to, father to son, father to son. And that's the original thing. That's how he gets it back originally. But then it comes out later and he's like, I never claimed to be a Mandalorian.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, Boba Fett is like he's raring to go. He's ready to fight the Mandalorian to keep his stuff, to keep his armor, to go about and do whatever the fuck he wants to do around the universe.
Anyway. But yeah, no, I was disappointed with Cad Bane's death. I wanted it very much the other way around.
You wanted it the other way around.
Cad Bane, in my eyes, is the ultimate bounty hunter.
How do you figure?
Purely based on what I've seen and read of both characters, Cad Bane is a much more consistent pain in the ass to all of the protagonists. He has dozens of successful missions, which causes a lot of pain natively for the story. Whereas Boba, on the other hand, has minor inconveniences, and his claim to fame is how he takes Solo to. He's essentially just transport for Solo once he's captured.
He's a bounty hunter, you moron. What do you think they do?
The summary of this video is gonna be just taken. You're a moron.
I'm sorry that did come out, guys.
that was great. Just the summary. When I edit this video, that bit's gonna be at the beginning. I'm gonna have my little spiel, which is gonna rile up a lot of people because the shit I'm saying I know is not a popular opinion.
Dude, you took me from 0 to 100 with one fucking sentence. It
And
doesn't happen often to me.
That'll be an interesting thing. Just welcome to the channel. Today we're going to talk about you're wrong.
You're a fucking moron.
oh well. Anyway, but yeah, no. I like Cad Bane much more than I do Boba. Cad Bane, for a period of time during the Clone Wars, mentored Boba as well. Like during the height of Jedi power, Cad Bane was a enormous threat and nuisance. Boba, yes, had a similar reputation, but during the reign of the Empire, where he had free reign to do this stuff anyway, because Empire is Empire, and they'll hire bounty hunters, whereas bounty hunters are just scum during the reign of the Republic. So the fact that Cad Bane can have a similar, if not greater, reputation during that period of time, I find more
Arguably
impressive.
greater.
Sorry?
Arguably great. Arguably
Arguably
great.
greater. I would argue is more impressive than the latter.
But the thing is, the flip between the Republic versus the Empire is the Republic. The Republic is the good guys, right? All the way through, the Republic is the good guys. The Jedi Order, they are like the lawful good. They are the fucking pen and paper good guys. So of course the fucking bounty hunters, of course the murderers, the thugs, even Han Solo would be considered a bad guy in the era of the Republic,
He's
right?
quite literally a smuggler, yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely, fucking oath he is. He's in the
It
same,
still exists.
yeah.
100%. He's scum. Yeah.
It doesn't matter that it was slightly easier for bounty hunters under the Empire. They still exist in both, and
Oh
there's
yeah.
still their own challenges in both. In fact, arguably, it would be harder for Boba Fett to have such a high reputation because under the rule of the Empire, there are like triple the amount of bounty hunters doing what they do.
Yeah.
It is a more competitive market under the Empire to be a bounty hunter. So arguably, Boba Fett rising in that field, in that competitive environment, is better. You just argued yourself out of your own point. He's got nothing to say.
Not necessarily. I
Yes, you
mean,
did. You just said there were more bounty hunters in the
you're
Empire.
not wrong. I'm gonna start off with saying you are not wrong. The competition amongst um bounty hunters, 100%, most likely far more competitive in that sense. But the threat level or the challenges in terms outside of other bounty hunters, I believe,
Mhm.
is going to be a bit less. Like you're going up against Jedi and actual stormtroopers at their best.
You're only going up against Jedi if you flag the Jedi. Like, how many times have you seen that Jedi can't get involved in certain situations because of certain reasons? Which is why the bounty hunters operate on the outer rim world where they operate mostly.
Yep.
It's not that common. Like, people are not terrified of Jedis if they're spice runners generally, or low key badasses, because it's very rare and unlikely that Jedis are going to come and deal with it.
Well, yeah, but
Exactly.
Cad
Have you
Bane was
seen that?
always taking the jobs, which would end up seeing him face to face with Jedi.
Fair
And
night. No,
Boba
no,
Fett didn't.
Ginger.
Boba Fett just stood next to, Darth Vader and Jabba the Hutt, who had, two of the biggest fucking targets in the entire universe on them. But that makes him a pussy compared, does it?
Cad Bane was in constant cahoots and deals with Count Dooku as well.
So is Jango Fett, and Boba Fett is literally a clone of Jango Fett.
And yet Jango Fett was better.
Jango Fett had more early experience.
Boba had a lot of experience growing up. Like his experience came from, again, the Clone Wars, which Jango never got to see. Right?
Just for point of clarification, are we only talking about 4, 5, and 6 tonight?
That was the original intention.
That's the original intention. We don't have to. No, I
Also,
might give us a small nudge away from Boba though, because I feel like
Yeah,
we're still
I
going
was
to start
going
going
to
around in
as well.
circles.
I was going to say something that might trigger you if something that I think is crap about Star Wars, but you go.
No, I was just gonna say, let's. Cool. Okay,
Oh,
go.
please, Deacon. Go ahead.
You're
hated-
wrong.
You might say that. I hated the Han Solo movie.
I was not a fan the first time I saw it. I was not.
I've seen it several times and I still hate it.
I've seen it several times, and it is not my favorite movie ever, but I like it. It is not great, but I like it.
I
However,
haven't bothered to see it.
You haven't seen it?
No.
it was solidly okay.
Mhm.
I believe this. I believe the story of it was better than I was expecting. I knew there was going to be some sort of reveal at the end. I was not expecting that, and that made me very happy. And I'm not sure how much of my liking of this movie is attached to that reveal.
What's the reveal? You're going to have to.
Just
Feel
remind me.
free. Don't mind me at all. I'm not interested in seeing any of that shit anyway.
Live action Darth Maul,
Oh.
Uh,
Well,
played by the same voice actor of Darth Maul from the Clone Wars.
yeah, well, that wasn't a huge reveal because we've
The-
seen him before.
My only thing is he's got an
That was not a reveal.
Inquisitor's lightsaber, and during that point in time, he's meant to have the dark saber.
I still don't understand how that was like a big reveal though, because we've seen him before in live action, Darth Maul.
Not after getting sliced in half.
Oh,
People who hadn't watched the Clone Wars assume he's dead.
yeah, well,
So him to suddenly be back,
I wasn't one of those, so yeah.
I wanted to see him back, live action Darth Maul again in that
Mm.
time period.
They've kind of screwed up some of their own canon, a lot of the stuff that they did with this kind of stuff.
How so?
The more cybernetics you have, the harder it is for you to use force powers. It was meant to be showing just how powerful Vader was, that he was still able to do that much shit even after over half of his body was transformed.
Correct.
Darth Maul has lost literally half of his body and still force powerful.
Well, that's the thing. They touch on that in like literally episode 1,
Yeah.
where they're talking about the metachlorian counts, and I don't know, this is higher numbers than fucking Yoda, and
Yeah.
Yoda is like the shit. So and they lead into it straight away. So whereas Darth Maul, like in the grand scheme of things, compared to Darth Vader, is a little bitch.
Yeah, 100%.
Compared to Obi-Wan is a little
But
bit.
if you look closely as well at the Clone Wars, as an example, right? Darth Maul grows only in power purely because he's still growing himself. But when you first find him, that first season or so after he's found by his brother, he's weak as shit. Absolutely piss weak, and he doesn't ever really become what he could be. Like when he faces Obi-Wan a second time, Obi-Wan, even as old as he is, has no problems dispatching Maul, right, a second time when Maul has now been fighting for years by this point.
Obi-Wan isn't old at that point, by the way, and he's like in full war mode. So while Darth Maul might be gearing up for war and getting a little bit stronger, Obi-Wan is a full fucking soldier throughout Clone Wars.
He
Like,
fights him for a second time in Rebels.
I haven't seen Rebels.
I haven't watched
He
Rebels.
doesn't fight him a second time in the Clone Wars. He fights him a second time in Rebels. So by this point in time, it's, because they show him with white hair, white beard in Rebels. It's getting very close to episode 4. And yet Obi-Wan easily dispatches of Maul. Like, there wasn't even much of a fight.
I haven't
Obi-Wan
seen
even
Rebels.
Obi-Wan even mocks Maul, initially using Qui-Gon's stance, which enrages Maul.
Classy.
I haven't seen Rebels, but again, that actually ties in, like him sort of coming back to his peak, ties in nicely to the end of Obi-Wan as well. Like has everyone seen Obi-Wan, or am I about to keep dropping spoilers for it?
I was all over that. Could not keep me away from it.
Go ahead.
What's that?
I loved it.
It's fantastic. But at the end, like he at the start of that series, he's like lost connection with the Force. He's he's lost connection with the Force. He's sort of fallen out of faith a bit. Again, kind of like Luke in episode 7.
Hey,
He's sort of lost eight. Sorry, he's lost touch with the Force. He's sort of walked away from it. At the end of Obi-Wan, he's come back into it, and that is about the time that Rebels would pick up. Like after
Yeah.
that series is where Rebels would slot in.
Mhm.
So Obi-Wan, Darth Maul's running around. He's getting stronger and stronger. Obi-Wan is still at his peak at that point. Like the reason that in episode 4 that he is older, is more decrepit, is because at that point he's actually really fucking old. And it's
well, that's it. Even Qui-Gon, was it Qui-Gon? Another Jedi says directly to well, it might have been Anakin actually. He says to Obi-Wan, or describes Obi-Wan. He's describing Obi-Wan to Palpatine, unknowingly Palpatine, that Obi-Wan is as powerful as Master Windu and as wise as Master Yoda,
Mhm.
right? Canonically, at his peak, Obi-Wan is roughly about as powerful as Master Windu, right? Not quite as wise as Yoda, but as a whole, I believe the best holistic Jedi that we've seen on the big screen so far.
Oh, hands down.
Absolutely. But I think some of that comment as well is like, I caught a fish that was this big.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, like everything you said just then about was correct in my opinion. Yes, yes. Um,
Well, the reason I hated Han Solo was even putting aside the love story thing, which for me diminishes his love story then with Leia later on, because like I just I really hated that the connection and then how he finds her again and obviously she's working with the bad guy like that just pissed me off. Putting that aside, Lando Calrissian.
to touch on that first point though, I
Mm,
thought it made the relationship with Leia better
how?
because if he's been hurt or stung that bad after putting that much effort into someone, you know, I believe it shows why he just kind of goes in at the angle he does with Leia. Like, cool, I
Mm,
don't give two rats.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
you want this, you know you want this. Who cares, right? I think well, that's why he starts going at that angle, and why him remaining with Leia has that much more of an impact.
well, not that they last either, but anyway.
You know what I
But that's
mean
actually
though.
not that's actually not because of them. That's because of what happens between 6 and
I
7.
understand that.
Yeah. Now, Leonard Covers. Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. I yeah.
Can I just say, like, and I've had this conversation with you before, and we're having it again recently about it, and I sort of held off then. But you're talking about how, like, they're, in episode 5 and 6, they're like best friends, they're
Are
old
you talking
wartime
to me
buddies or
or
something.
Kami?
I'm talking to you.
Well,
Um,
you can't tell them that because they don't know the conversation we had previously. So
but
you're
yeah, so
assuming that they know what my point is, which I
okay,
haven't made
sorry.
yet.
Tegs, go ahead and make your point about Lando Calrissian.
Well,
What
Matt
I
just
didn't
stretches his shoulder, cracks his fingers, puts caps lock on.
what I didn't like about it is when you see them together in episode, is it 5? I remember
What do you
shit.
who?
Lando, where Lando is
Lando's
king
episode
of
5.
That's episode 5,
yeah.
yeah.
So Lando's running the city
Yep.
and all this stuff,
Yep.
and the way he saves Han and that and tries to help them and puts his entire infrastructure of not just his own life, but everybody on that fucking planet's life in danger, you sort of seem to assume that their connection together is, really profound. They've spent a lot of time together. Maybe they've fought alongside each other. And then when you watch the Han Solo movie, you're like, really? That's it? That's how they met and that's their little connection? That's the only time they've met prior to episode 5?
But you're
That's it.
making it. So I'm going to resist the urge to have your same snap, you fucking idiot, as you did. But
Yeah, moron.
Oh,
you're also taking it.
what I'm hearing is you wanna sleep on the couch tonight.
No, I'm good. So what you're doing though is you're taking what they put in that movie, and that is the only interaction those two ever had.
Confirmed that that's the only interaction they've ever had. Because in episode 5, in their conversations, like, "I haven't seen you since blah," and then you see blah in Han Solo. It literally is in both movies.
I thought that they like. I mean, they could have been on that planet multiple times, but
I don't recall that line.
I've got a shitty memory, so let me try and find it.
I know Vader. They worked really well off something Vader doesn't say about Obi-Wan. When he first senses Obi-Wan, that's a presence I haven't felt since, and then walks off screen. Left it wide open. And the way they left it on Mustafar, I thought was perfect. And I was really concerned when they were bringing Vader back for Obi-Wan and not Maul. But the way that it ended was perfect. And just the imagery used with his helmet at the end was, again, perfect. In Rebels, Vader fights Ahsoka, right? And Ahsoka takes off. I forget which side. We'll say the right. For the purpose of this, we'll say the right side. Takes off the right side of his helmet, right? Um, and then in Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan takes off the alternate side. Each one of them could take off half the veil. Only Luke could make him take the whole thing off.
yeah, okay, that's kind of cool. I hadn't noticed that symbology before.
No, I thought that was really cool.
I don't know. I can't find the line. I'd have to watch it again, and I really don't want to.
What, episode 5?
No, Han Solo.
But it wasn't the line in episode 5, I haven't seen you since.
Yeah, I have to find it again.
We just have to watch episode. We just have to watch all the Star Wars again.
Joey and I have already started.
God damn it! How did I miss out on that?
Mm.
Oh dear.
Anyway, I have been told that's one of my most controversial opinions because apparently
As-
everyone loved Han Solo, and I'm like, I didn't.
I didn't love it. It doesn't make it into like my top 10 of Star Wars fucking things that are out there, but it was solidly okay. It was a nice little background bit about Han Solo is what it was for me. Like that's honestly all it was.
Yep.
That said, other spin-off movies or other like prequel movies, how fucking good was Rogue One?
Before we touch on that, there was a comment made before about relating Obi-Wan's disconnection from the Force to Luke in Episode 8. I
Matt
need to
said
address
that.
that. Obi-Wan disconnects himself from the Force because he's just dedicated his entire life to this, this belief, this religion, this
Yeah.
everything.
I'm
And
pretty sure the youngling murder gave that man serious trauma.
with the connection he's got with the Force at that point in time, right? And then seeing the security hologram, all the younglings being all but X amount being killed, and him watching that, and then the pain of his own ex Padawan doing it,
Hmm.
right? He's feel like he's not only failed himself. Oh, we just lost Matt.
He'll be back in a sec.
I feel like he's not only feel like he's failed himself. He feel like he's failed Master Yoda, like the Grand Master. He
Hmm.
feels like he's failed the Republic,
I agree.
right? And he disconnects himself from the Force and everyone else for everyone's safety. You see in the first 2-3 episodes how painful it is for him to refer to himself as Ben. The pain on his face, and credit to Ewan for that. But also, just when the other Jedi begs him for help, and again, the pain in his face when he goes, "You've got the wrong person."
Hmm.
The genuine pain you see on his face, that is so good. And the journey back into his connection, I thought was absolutely superb. Whereas,
Side note,
yes,
while we're waiting for Matt to loading, because this is a Matt point,
yep,
a point for Matt that you're making. How good was it seeing Rex in Obi-Wan?
that's unconfirmed, Rex.
It is absolutely
It
Rex.
is absolutely Rex.
I believe it is, but it's not confirmed.
It's his paint. It's the same pattern. It's the same color. And what I love is that he's like, I think he recognized Obi-Wan, didn't say a word.
I believe that
Of
was a
course he didn't
test
say a word.
screening for Rex.
It's absolutely Rex.
But anyway, in contrary to what I've just said about Obi-Wan,
Least one of the 501st, but it is absolutely Rex.
so Obi-Wan has disconnected himself from everything because of he feels he's failed himself, his Grand Master, the Republic, his ex-Padawan, and the younglings. He's felt like he's failed on this astronomical scale that we probably can't even fathom. As I said, like the pain on his face when he calls
Like he
himself
killed,
Ben.
yeah, he feels like he killed Jesus.
Yeah, baby Jesus.
Yeah, 'cause Anakin was supposed to be the one, and he takes responsibility for not
Yeah.
turning him into the one.
Yeah, and then also with then as I mentioned, with
And
the
that
Jedi coming to him, the pain on his face then just by contrast, when Luke disconnects himself, it's for entirely selfish reasons.
Because all the Padawans that he was raising got fucking murdered. Grogu got fucking murdered in that bit.
Again, unconfirmed. Grogu hasn't gone back to Luke. He went away from Luke. We don't know his pathway yet. Anyway, Luke went from this supposed Jedi Master, who quite literally threw his lightsaber away in the face of the dark side, to raising and activating his saber in the face of a sleeping, teen, his own nephew at that. That's not the Luke we remember, nor should he be the Luke anyway. But he disconnects himself from the Force because he feels like he's failed one person and about 7, 8 Padawans or younglings.
Well, it's not clear how many Padawans or younglings he has.
So I mean,
but it's not just that he failed Ben. It's that he failed Ben and everybody that he brought in to become Jedi, to become Padawans. Like everyone he basically brought in to protect, he couldn't protect. Granted, it's not on the same like astronomical, like galactic scale as Obi-Wan, but it's no different.
Yeah, and the way they go about it, you can tell that Obi-Wan is older and wiser and kind of went through this more maturely and felt it much deeper because, I mean, again, they are separate people, but again, Obi-Wan has that ridiculously heightened emotional drainage, whereas Luke just acts like a spoiled brat that hasn't gotten his way.
And I'm not going to talk about the acting from Mark Hamill in 8 and 9 because it was not good.
They honestly shouldn't have brought him back the way they did.
Well, Hamill half acted that way because he hated the way they made Luke appear. He hated Luke's character.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the script itself, like it was Disney's first, dive into Star Wars. They just bought the franchise. They made mistakes. I 100% believe that they made mistakes in how they did that, in the directors, in the casting, and a bunch of other stuff around it.
They didn't have a plan.
Yeah, mistakes were made.
Essentially tried to fan service the whole thing.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. There is a time and a place for fan service, and fan service, like Star Wars, the whole fucking thing is fan service now. Like after episode 4, 5, and 6, everything after that was fan service.
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3, Rogue One, fucking Solo. Like Solo is literally like, he's a fucking fan service.
Can you
and it was a
describe
whole.
what episodes 1, 2, and 3 are for fan service?
I mean, it's bringing back the thing, but there was enough. The Yoda fight, the entirety of Obi-Wan, honestly, like, it's shit like that. The entire thing was about trying to bring Star Wars into a modern day at the time, and that's what 7, 8, and 9 tried to do as well. They tried to bring Star Wars into a modern time.
But the same comparison for Obi-Wan anyway. Doing The Hobbit as a trilogy, you'd call fan service for Bilbo. By comparison, bringing fan service for episodes 1, 2, and 3, and for.
So The Hobbit should not have been a trilogy, and I'm happy to argue that with you another time as well.
Oh, that's another one. Yeah.
The
Lord of the Rings was like fucking
like
A+, 10 out of 10. The Hobbit trilogy was like a solid 3.
I gotta put a pin in Lord of the Rings because I'll go down that rabbit hole.
Yep.
That's the thing. 4, 5, and 6 was its own contained story. If they had left off with that, nobody would have been pissy about it.
Yep.
When they did 1, 2, and 3, while that was a lot lesser than 4, 5, and 6, it was still its own contained thing. Which 6 movies, 2 trilogies essentially. Unfortunately, the 7, 8, and is even a 9 out yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you, it felt as if they were just trying to revamp the old thing by that point.
For episode 7, I agree that it was pretty much just episode 4 all over again at a surface level. Episode 8, moving away from Luke, because we could talk about that for hours. Actually, before I move away from Luke, Tegan did want to make a point about his descent.
Oh, no, I just wanted to make a point about the Skywalker family in general.
Yeah.
So you guys were talking about, I know that you don't like his storyline in 7, 8, 9, and that Mark Hamill didn't either, and blah, blah, blah.
I'm not a big
It just
fan of Luke as a character.
seems to me that the only incorruptible ones in the Skywalker family are the women. That's all I had to say.
It's because most of them die,
Leia,
The stupidest shit.
ended up dying.
Matt.
as an old woman,
I know he's fine.
as an older woman, but she never once is corruptible at
Yeah.
all. You see in episode 5, you see, Luke challenging his demons and can see what could happen if he did give in. She never has to deal with that shit because she's pure as. That's all I had to say.
And a fucking badass.
Damn right. She's more badass than Luke is.
Oh, yeah.
But you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
She is the best of Darth Vader's children.
Can
I
I
find
just
Luke
say,
whiny through the whole series, personally.
I love the feminists that have tried to speak to Carrie Fisher about the Jabba the Hutt scene.
Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher, sorry. Yeah, I love that. So feminists are like, oh, yeah, don't you think it was ridiculous that you were put in that position? And she's like, okay, so my character was captured and used in horrible ways, and my character turned around and strangled him to death with it because of it. So there you fucking go. Like, yes, I was put into a bad position because I was overpowered and blah 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 blah, and then I fucking killed him. Luke didn't rock up and kill him. Han didn't rock up and kill him. Nobody else fucking killed Jabba. It
Nobody
was
needed to
all
save
her.
her. She didn't need saving. She was not the damsel in distress in that
Yep.
quintessential tropey bullshitty way in
Yeah.
most sci-fi for female lead
That's the
characters.
thing. Back then, they didn't have as many tropes to work off of. She created the reversal trope.
Yeah,
I was gonna say the trope of the damsel in distress is old as fucking time. Like that goes back to bardic fucking tales
yeah.
of the damsel in distress. They took that trope and fucking flipped it on its head with her.
Yeah, I agree. I also love Carrie Fisher because she's in who she is. She's kind of that badass as well from some of the stories I've read in her biographies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's a whole thing of like they would never have fucking escaped the Death Star if it wasn't for her. They came in, they rescued her because they literally like her ship got boarded and everybody on the fucking ship got owned, and she still stood there to Darth Vader and lied to his fucking face, and then didn't give him shit. Like, did not give him anything.
Takes balls.
And then the guys turn up and like, hey, we're here to rescue you. She's like, you guys are a pack of fucking idiots. I'm in charge. Let's go. Like,
Yep. Yep.
Oh dear. But yeah,
Hmm.
I yeah, if they had a set plan in place for 7, 8, and 9 before starting, would have been better. Just 7 had whilst it was surface level, same as 4, it still had some promise, right? It relied heavily on I forget the term in my scripts, but it relied heavily on the older characters.
It was essentially nostalgia baiting.
Yeah.
absolutely it was.
Episode 8, I think, is just horrific. And episode 9, again, I go against the grain. I enjoyed it. I thought episode 9 was good.
The whole thing with 7, 8, 9, and it's something that we're never going to know. But I mean, the classic comparison is look at the DC movie universe, right? So they've had so many fucking amazing starts, and they've laid the groundwork multiple times, and then they've laid
DC
the
is
groundwork multiple times.
highly reactive.
Then they go, oh fuck, it's not working how we wanted to. People haven't fucking loved it. Like, and then they go run off and change everything. Like, and that's where it all falls apart. I honest to God wonder if that's what happened with 7. They've released 7, and people are like, it wasn't as good as the originals. And then they've like balked from their plan.
Disney needed to stick with their plans, whatever plans they had, as they do with
You don't reckon
Marvel.
they changed based on people's feedback between,
Like,
between
dead set.
7 and 8?
Marvel is just kind of bang. Here's characters most of you have never heard of before. You're gonna love them, and that's it. Like they just go bang, 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 bang. Here it is. Like the amount of trash that I think they've released recently, and yet they stick by it.
Oh, fucking
Like
F
kudos
that,
to
yeah.
them for sticking by it. But at the same point in time, they're just
Is it
pumping stuff out.
confirmed? Is
Sorry,
it confirmed that that's what happened, that Disney changed the story between 7 and 8?
they
I'm
they
speculating.
they from what is speculated, they didn't actually have a plan.
Right.
Yeah,
Look,
and that's the thing.
7, 8,
4,
9
5,
are
and
my
6.
least favorite of all of them. I just prefer them to Solo.
So 4, 5, and 6, and same as 1, 2, and 3. Like, it feels like when you watch them that it was. I want to make this fucking 7-hour movie. Well, we have to split into 3 movies. Both sets feel like that. Like, and whether you like episode 1, 2, and 3 or not, it feels like it was. I mean, they wrote 4, 5, and 6 and went, well, let's go and write a prelogue to it, and they fucking nailed a 6-hour prelogue set of like prelogue movie, and that's exactly what they've rolled out. 7, 8, 9 definitely has that disjointed feel to it. It doesn't
Yeah.
feel like it's sort of like, oh well, we really want to include Mark Hamill in it, so like let's just force this fucking square peg into a round hole. Like we want to include this, so let's just jam the triangle in the rectangle space. Like
One thing I will say, and Rem has mentioned this before, Rem, one of the things that you don't like about 7 and what it was leading into is that it's the repeat of the same story.
Hmm.
The only reason I think that actually works is because it gives a little bit of reality to that cycle of trauma. So if you think about how dysfunctional and about how traumatic that entire family line on both sides, Sith and Jedi, doesn't matter who, has been, that cycle continues and it literally repeats itself. And for me, that works.
Yeah, but they repeated it in 1, 2, and 3 as well with Anakin.
That's what I'm saying.
fucking
In
oath,
So
certain
absolutely they
points,
did.
but
it
they
started with
repeated it in
Anakin.
a different way. In
Yeah.
that, it took multiple movies in 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, and 3 to go through all the points. They felt as if they shoved all the points into 7.
Wow, because you didn't know who she was.
Let's be honest, by this point, we had some pretty good fucking ideas.
I wouldn't have guessed where they went with it.
There was 2 ways that they could have gone,
There was
which
3
was
ways.
either
There was 3 or 4 ways they could have gone. There was after episode 7, there was speculation that she was related to Obi-Wan somehow. There was speculation that she was another Skywalker.
They
There was speculation that she was literally just fucking no
Ridley
one. And there
confirmed that
was
the one thing that they
speculation that she was
had,
good.
Ridley herself confirmed the one thing they had, which did get thrown out the window the second there was backlash on episode 7, was she was originally meant to be a Kenobi.
Yeah, they could have gone in several directions with it.
And the basis on that everyone took from it and speculated on was when she picked up that fucking lightsaber, she heard a couple of rays, right? A couple of people saying her name, and
Yeah.
the most common one that said her name, they actually got Ian no, what was it?
Alec Guinness.
Alec Guinness, that's the one. Thank you. In McDermott, whatever. He's Palpatine. Alec Guinness. They got him saying the word afraid and cut it down to Ray.
Yeah.
The rest of the dialogue came from Ewan McGregor
Yeah.
Mm.
I knew
Yeah.
that.
when she picked up
Absolutely.
Luke's lightsaber.
And this comes back to that same point. Like my issue with 7, 8, 9 is it feels like they released 7, and then there was all the backlash and Disney like, whoa, we've got to fucking put the brakes on this. And I think that shows in 8 and 9. Like 9, it wrapped it up. It gave an ending, and it sort of ended a bit the same way that episode 6 did, where like there's now another Jedi. There's now the actual Last Jedi running around, to do their thing, and I mean, they could easily roll out episode 10 with exactly the same kickoff where, like, kid who's force sensitive ends up hanging around with, like, meeting up with Ray and going and doing the thing. And they could easily run another trilogy off that. I don't think it'd be good, but they could, like, based on the story that they've left open. It feels like episode 8, they lost what they were trying to do. And that's honestly what it feels like with episode 8. I also think, unfortunately, Adam Driver didn't do a great job in that role. I didn't like how he portrayed him.
Really?
I didn't like the character, I should say. Like it's not like I hated the character and I love that. I didn't. He kind of screamed that like emo anger issues kid the entire movies.
But I
It's
love that's what I loved about it, because that's exactly what he was. He was
Nice.
a confused, traumatized teenager that turned into a young adult who had no fucking clue what to do.
Who's this?
Adam
Kylo
Driver as
Ren.
Kylo Ren.
I thought he did an amazing job.
I
Episode 7 I didn't like with him. Episodes 8 and 9 I thought he came more into his own. But episode 7 to me made me feel like he was just an angsty teen who was just raging because why can't I dark side?
But that's exactly what he
Slashing away at
was.
walls and
But that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what his character was. He was betrayed by his uncle who was supposed to be teaching him to be a Jedi. What else would you do when you've had that fundamental moment of growth in your teen
but I
formative
mean,
years?
no other Sith has been taught how to be a Sith. I
But
feel like
he's
his instructions to
but
be a
he's
Sith,
not. The
All
whole
of
point
them
is he's
did.
not actually a Sith.
but I feel like
And
his
I'm sorry,
instructions.
Anakin was manipulated into it, and his formative points as well. It is the same story, but I actually really that's one of the things I loved about the last 3.
I
It's
really
one of
think
the
that
main
Kylo
points
Ren's.
that Sith do have masters.
I really think not all Sith. Palpatine doesn't have one anymore, but he did.
used to.
Anymore.
Yeah.
Anymore.
I get it. I get it. I
He
get
That
it.
is
talked
one
about
of
in
the main
episode.
things. There
Does
is a
Kylo Ren not
stagnant-
have a master?
He does.
He
He's got
does
Snoke.
exactly. So
Yeah.
anyway, I strongly believe that Kylo Ren's advice from Darth Plagueis was taken from Family Guy. Just something, something, something dark side, something, something, something complete. That is his advice on going to the dark side.
But the way his master engages with him is different to the way we've seen other Sith masters engaged with their apprentices.
Yeah, true. Sorry, Mitch, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say that it's actually a well-known plot point that the amount of Sith in the universe is stagnant, because when a person actually gets to the point of being able to become a master themselves, they, in almost every case, have killed their master to become so.
But they contradict that on multiple points. So I mean, Darth Maul's running around while Darth Vader exists. And this is just again, this is
He's-
taking out Old Republic. This is taking out that stuff as well. Yes, there's a lot of stuff like even in Old Republic where they're like, you know,
Dooku?
the Padawan kills the master. But yeah, you know, you had
Palpatine?
Dooku, Maul, and Palpatine running around at the same time. You know,
3.
in the Inquisitors were all Sith, and they were all running around at the same time. So there's at least 3 of them. Plus there was Darth Vader, so that's 4. And we still know that cities around. That's 5. Like those rules don't mean shit. The rule of 2 is, you know, yes, it's part of the law that the apprentice kills the master, blah blah blah. But obviously that's not factual. Like it's again, you look at the Old Republic and
true.
there's Sith running around everywhere. Like there's entire temples of Sith. Like just like there are Jedi temples, there are entire temples of Sith.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that they originally stated that they just essentially ignored later on.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah,
thing
so-
that I didn't get for number 7, he seemed to be looking up to Vader and all that stuff, where it was very obvious that he had turned away from the dark side at the end.
Who was
Yeah,
this?
but-
Why are they putting him on the dark pedestal?
Because everything he knows about Vader came from his uncle's stories of him. So if he's betrayed by his uncle, he then will no longer believe anything that was said.
The way he was showcased in episode 7 made it look like he was struggling to flow with the dark side.
The entire
No,
trilogy,
That's
he
the
was
whole
struggling. To
premise
start,
of the whole storyline.
He's going to
is that
be the
he was
only
not fully
Sith
committed.
ever to struggle to become a Sith.
So?
but it's literally he's literally the polar opposite of a Jedi fighting against the dark side every day.
He was
Like,
he's the
he's
polar opposite
fighting-
to Rey.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. He's or it's not even Rey. Rey doesn't really have to fight against dark side itself.
Episode
except
9.
Yeah.
in the same way. Like it is honestly, it's more like Luke trying to fight against the dark side, or even Obi-Wan trying to fight against the dark side. Like, you know, everybody has those dark tendencies to them, and part of the whole Jedi Order is about suppressing love, suppressing emotion, suppressing these elements that lead you to the dark side. Like it even talks about that in episode 5 with Yoda. Like, giving the hate, like giving up your hate because hate leads to the dark side, anger leads to the dark side. These core emotions is what leads to the dark side. In episode, in the prequel trilogy, the whole hidden love affair is because Jedi's aren't allowed to love because it's a raw emotion and it leads to, love leads to sadness when somebody passes away. Like, and that's ultimately what feeds into Anakin becoming Darth Vader is all these things, and that fear he gives into the fear of losing Padme. That ends up causing him to lose Padme, which is it's a self-fulfilling
Padme.
prophecy thing.
But
That's what I'm saying.
jumping forward and back at the same
No, you're
time,
saying Padme.
the beauty of episode 9, right, with how Palpatine is still alive, means
Mhm.
that there was never a chance to save Padme
Of course
because
not.
he could only move his own essence,
That's right.
couldn't move someone else's.
That's
and
right.
and that just makes that the episode
Makes it
3
even more
story
evil.
that much more emotional, that much more
Of course.
tragic for Vader.
Yeah, of course.
So
Yeah.
I really liked that component of how
It
Palpatine
completely
came back.
manipulated him.
However, they could have actually explained it in the movie. I hate that they didn't do that. All they gave us in the movie was somehow Palpatine's returned. Whereas canon, the second he's fallen, he's shifted his essence off to said facility, which we see in first, well, not the facility, but a facility testing cloning in the Mandalorian.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, look at at the same time. Look, Star Wars, every part of it, or has you've got to leave your question like you've got to accept the fantasy of it. And it's one of my favorite examples of this in anything is like probably one of the most known, one of the most popular ones at the moment, or for the last sort of 10 years or so, is the Harry Potter universe. Right? You look at it from the outside, it's like everyone's running around. They've got these cool ways to transport around. They got fucking hours. They could do this and do that. And then you think about it, that pretty much anyone in the wizard world can, like, at the snap of their fingers, be anywhere else in the world. So why the fuck would you use owls? Slow, they get lost, they get distracted by mice on the way, they get shot by a random fucking hunter. Owls is a terrible way to send information around. But until you actually start thinking about it, you sort of you let it go, you forget it. It's that you basically choose to ignore the faults in the logic. And Star Wars has always been about that as well. As soon as you start picking at the fucking fabric of Star Wars logic, it falls apart very, very quickly.
But there's also
yeah.
a lot of protected places in Harry Potter that you can't
Yeah.
apparate or disapparate from. You can't go in. You can't apparate or disapparate, or certain people can't.
But I mean, if you're
apparate.
trying to get a letter to Hogwarts, like, right? Okay, you can't apparate inside Hogwarts. I'll apparate 2 feet outside the gate, and I'll fucking stroll on in with my important message, rather than a fucking bird who is not. They're not even fast birds. Like, the owls that they're
Yeah.
using are not actually fast, long distance birds.
Yeah,
The
Much-
logic, as I said, when you start picking at the logic, and of any fantasy world, pick at the
That's
logic
not
of Lord of the
anything.
Rings, pick at the logic of anything. Yeah, and I use Star Wars because it's an example that I actually saw a video on talking about DMing, and I'm like, holy fuck! Like, that's as soon as they said like the owls are dumb, and I'm like, all I can think about now is how fucking dumb the owls are. Because it's something that I chose to ignore for so long. Like, I like the Harry Potter universe. I think it's a cool universe, but it's something that I chose to ignore for it for so fucking long that it was only when somebody sort of like started picking at the thread for me and sort of handed me that first thread to start tugging on that it falls apart around you. Star
Yeah.
Wars is exactly the same. Any fantasy world, anything set aside from our own reality, where it's not actually biographical, as soon as you start pulling at those threads, like, you know,
It's gonna fall
John
apart.
Wick's an awesome series, but again, if you start pulling at that thread, like it falls apart really fucking quickly. Everything does it.
Why it's called, make believe.
Suspension of disbelief. That's the term I'm looking for. It's all about
Yeah.
suspension of disbelief. So, he survived, and it's like Darth Maul surviving. There's no way Darth Maul should survive that, but he does. and we accept that and move on. It's going like, fuck yeah, this is cool. Darth Maul's
That's
back.
an interesting point, and maybe it comes back to the thing that he only had 4 lines to say. Why are you okay with Darth Maul suddenly coming back to life when he was cut in half, but not Boba Fett out of the Sarlacc
I was
pit?
waiting for that question.
Mm.
Canon answer to that is he survives on his hate. Being cut with a lightsaber, it cauterized the wound. He survived. That's how powerful Maul was when he got cut in half. Maul was a lot more powerful than people realized. He just hadn't, like Obi-Wan, had not reached his full potential, and he survived on his hate. That's where Sith get that power. He survived on his hate.
And Boba Fett survived because he's got kick-ass armor.
You're not wrong. But again, look,
But
going
yet
back
you
to
argue
episode,
that fucking point that he came back to life and he should never have fucking escaped the Sarlacc pit.
I don't think you should have. But
Because you personally don't like him.
correct. That's the reason why I don't think you should have.
And that's because
Let's
why is
let's
it because Tegan?
let's not go back down that
But
rabbit
no,
hole.
but look at episodes 1, 2, and 3, right? Their main villain in each movie perfectly foreshadows Darth Vader. Maul hates the Jedi, right? Has nothing but anger. Count Dooku is a fallen Jedi, right? Grievous is a cyborg.
Mhm.
All with hate, anger, and suffering. Led to the dark side. They
Mhm.
foreshadow Vader.
Talk about Star Wars is making it really hard for me not to buy in a Star Wars Legion.
Sorry?
There's a Star Wars tabletop game that it's all this talk about Star Wars is making it really
Cool.
hard for me not to want to buy in.
How is it
Once
that we've
they-
been sorry, Rem.
Yeah, we're just going to say after your campaign's done in D&D, we'll have to start up the Star Wars D6.
Yep.
Mate, you have no idea what Star Wars has fucking done to me recently.
Nice.
Love it.
I had talks with Sally about this beforehand, but yeah,
Very nice.
trade-ins had to be made to afford these things.
I have no doubt. How have we
3D
been
printed
talking
lightsaber.
about controversial topics in Star Wars for what are we on? Like nearly 2 hours now? How has
Hour and a
no
half.
one mentioned the big one?
The big one. Oh, please.
The big one.
Oh, let's hear the big one.
Let's hear
But
the
I
big
didn't bring
one.
it up before because it's not part of 4, 5, and 6.
Well, we've gone well out of that realm now. Go for it.
Yeah.
Jar Jar Binks.
I'm for it.
He was an annoying fuck, but he fits the universe.
I
Like
am all for Jar Jar. I believe he fits in, and they toned him down drastically for episode 2, and they cut him out because he wasn't relevant to episode 2. In episode 1, 100% relevant. I am for Jar Jar Binks.
he annoyed the fuck out of me at the time.
Why?
It felt like the forced comedy relief. The same reason I don't like Thor Ragnarok. His character felt
Huh.
ridiculously over the top. It was trying to get a laugh out of people.
Yeah,
And what I found is it took away from the seriousness of the movie.
I felt that he becomes more understandable when you realize that his species doesn't naturally speak English, which is why most of them speak with that
Well, not
broken
naturally
dialect.
speak the way we speak anyway.
Mm.
Yeah, heck, you know that the broken dialect is a thing for most races. Look at Yoda.
But the thing
The-
is, it was the tone of voice, it was the ridiculous clumsiness, like, and again, it does
yeah.
all fit into his character, and it fits in, and they wrote it well in the rest of the original,
Yeah.
like the rest of the prequels. But I personally like, and again, I found it at the time to be that forced comedic relief.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I can completely understand that. I just literally see him as a fish out of water.
Yep.
That's
Uh,
pretty much
and I
what
get
he
that as
is.
well. Like, it's-
Yeah,
Almost
that's
literally.
why I said
yeah, that's
literally.
literally what he is.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, here's something good for you. I have all
Mhm.
these highly controversial opinions on Star Wars. I did not actively like Star Wars at all. Period. Was blissfully ignorant on it until long after episode 1 was released.
Really?
I hated Star Wars because I was ignorant. When I was younger, I saw episode
What is
4
he,
on
about 5
TV.
years younger than us?
I'm 1 year younger than you, Matt.
Really? Was your 30th that long ago? Jeez,
Yeah.
I'm getting
Yeah.
Memory failing.
Yeah, almost 4 years ago. Yes.
What's that?
But no, I saw
I
episode
forgot how old
4.
I was about a year ago.
I saw episode 4 numerous times on TV, and I hated it when I was younger. Considering that this is when I was in primary school, hated it because in my primitive child mind, I was a child. The bad guy just rolls away in the ship and nothing happens. They blow up the ship. He rolls away. I didn't know that there was an episode 5 and a 6. I thought it
The look
ended
on
there.
Tegan's face says it all.
What
I
sad,
was
miserable childhood you had.
I was
See, and this
unaware.
is the thing, right? So I
It
had
wasn't
family friends that forced Star Wars down my throat. I had Star Wars forced down my throat as a kid, and I say that like it sounds really fucking awful when I say it that way, but it's really not. Like I am so glad I had people, basically like forcing fantasy books down my throat. Like I had all these influences in my life as a kid who brought this stuff into me because my mum sure as shit didn't like fantasy and didn't like sci-fi. She was like true crime stories and shit like that. And I have zero interest in that stuff. But some of her friends and some of her family friends, as I said, like when episode 1 and 2 came out, I went and saw it like within the first 48 hours of it coming out because I was around these people that are like, Matt, you have to come and watch this because it was such an important part of their childhood. So it was, you're right, darling.
Yeah, I'm listening. I have many things to say, but I'm listening.
Just
You know
watching the
my mum,
face
like,
slowly.
does Star Wars seem like something she'd enjoy? No, it's because other people introduce me to it and sort of taking me through it. And it didn't all stick. Like someone tried to get me to like Star Trek. I fucking hate Star Trek. Um,
I
because it's
like
boring.
certain iterations in it.
It doesn't have lightsabers. It's nowhere near as cool as Star Wars. And space wizards and but it's one of those things that
It
if you're
does
not
still have space
exposed to
wizards.
it, if you're not exposed to it in the proper environment, because especially if you start on 4, 5, and 6, it is dated. Like even for our kids, if they just sort of had a randomly watched episode 4, 5, and 6, or any one of the three of them on their own, without context, without me and Tegan sort of holding him down and making him sit there and watch it, they'd be bored in about 10 minutes
I've never
because
done
it
that,
is
just for the record.
because it is dated. It doesn't look as
Luna doesn't like
impressive.
Star Wars and never has and has never converted just because her parents and her brother like it.
But
She
Joey's a giant.
maintains that she does not like Star Wars.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But
Oh
yeah,
But like
yeah.
Joey, for example, like he has watched it with us and he's sort of gotten his love for it through us.
yeah. I mean, I didn't get into it until I remember the day I got into it.
You
I
disagree?
It was
Yes.
I can't remember what it was. There were two movies. This is back when we recorded movies on free to air on VHS, and there were two movies on the same night. I can't remember what they were. Mum very kindly recorded one for me, and I can't remember what it was, but it was one that I wanted recorded. And then our neighbor kindly recorded episode 1 for me. So I thought, oh, episode 1, I'll give it a go. Why not? I watched it later. I watched episode 1 from free to air, and it, obviously being free to air, it cut out about 20-30 minutes of the movie, right? But then
Yeah, back
I've
when they
gone back
did
and
the stupid
then
thing with the
because it was leading
rates.
up to the release of episode 2 about 3 months down the track. So they had episode 1, 4, 5, and 6, right? Because I watched that
In the right
movie
order.
on VHS the next night, and then at the end of it, the ads are going next weekend, episode 4. Okay, what's that? Oh, this is the one I remember. Wait, there's a 5 and 6. Fell in love after that, and then dad and I went to see episodes 2 and 3 at the cinema.
Okay. Going back a bit, Jar Jar Binks.
A lot to unpack, right?
Yeah, what I hated about what happened to the hate that the Jar Jar Binks character received is it did not receive it when that movie released. It received it several years later when the internet blew up with trolls. Because episode 1 was released when I was in high school, which was really before the days where every teenager had the internet in their pocket and where people weren't back then sharing their opinions. When that movie came out, every single person I know and every person they knew, everybody loved Jar Jar Binks, absolutely loved him. And it's the Nickelback effect. it's popular to hate Nickelback, so everybody hates Nickelback. It
I still
became
like him.
popular to hate Jar Jar Binks, so that's why everybody hates Jar Jar Binks. I love Jar Jar Binks, and I loved his character in all 3 of
Uh,
them.
One thing that I saw was so many people saying that Jar Jar Binks was a black stereotype or stuff like that, completely ignoring the fact that he was played by a black actor who actually had input on the character while they were
He
doing it.
created his walk.
Other black characters in that movie that were not portrayed like that, so that's a
So
redundant.
it kind of falls
They
apart, but for some reason people still jump on it.
Of course
Hmm.
they do, because it's a popular
But
opinion.
I mean, forget
Same
it.
with the actor who played Anakin. I feel sorry for that
Oh
kid, I
my
don't
god,
know his
yes.
name. The amount of hate that boy has slacked and copped.
He
He
quit
was
that
a
quit acting
fucking
as a result.
8-year-old kid
Hmm?
and I thought he did a bloody good
I thought
job,
he did it perfectly.
and so did Hayden Christensen, and he got
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
of flack
Think
too.
about it, right? You can't go from talking like we are now
Mm.
to put on a helmet and just suddenly be James Earl Jones. You have to have mannerisms in place first.
Yeah, but James L. Jones was just a voice, he wasn't even the physical portrayal.
No, but just the way he spoke, the way he articulated himself, the
Both
pauses
of
he
those
had.
actors
Sorry?
got unfairly treated, both of
Yeah.
those
I
actors.
100% agree on that.
Yeah, like
And I
Tegan,
think
I
it's
think I've shared with you
disgusting.
before a video comparing Ewan McGregor's mannerisms
Yeah.
to Alec Guinness,
Yeah.
right? And Ewan McGregor did so much research
Yeah.
on all of those mannerisms, and Ewan passed that knowledge on to Hayden Christensen when he came on, saying, "Hey, you've got to look into Vader."
I would not have watched the Obi-Wan series if they had brought a different actor in to play Darth Vader, because I would have been pissed off.
Yep.
Because that kid, for how young he was and just starting out, he did an amazing job of
And
that
did
role.
you see the reception he got on his return?
Yep. Because true fans recognize that. Like I said, it's this bandwagoning support. You see it in football all the time.
Yep.
We love our football teams. We are regulars at the home games, and they're not the best team in the league, and they never will be. But all of a sudden, when they're doing well, the fucking place is packed. It's bandwagon support bullshit that pisses me off.
Well, the team I support as
It
well,
works in
same
the reverse.
exact same
It
thing. The
works
team
in
I
the reverse.
support has one of the largest followings, and yet one of
Matt's coming.
Yeah.
and
Just
yet
ignore it.
Bumped, but
and
Oh,
yet
there we go.
almost always have empty stadiums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
It's
the same
fucking
in reverse.
ridiculous.
Those 2 actors, especially the young boy and it's probably especially Hayden Christensen, get all of this hate because it's popular to hate them.
Yep.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think he did a fucking brilliant job of
Yep. I agree.
even as a kid. Even as a kid, he was already showing that childlike, emotion, and that's why Yoda
Yeah.
was saying he's too old to train. You
Yeah.
can't fucking train him; he's too old because
Yep.
he's already experiencing all these emotions and loving all these emotions.
He already knows that this is wrong, this is right. He's already
Yeah.
angry about his lot in life.
Yep.
Absolutely, but even his excitement, like the pod, I fucking love the pod race scene. It was visually fucking spectacular. Like I
Yeah.
remember watching that on the big screen, the massive
Oh, yeah.
surround sound, the massive screen, and
Yeah.
it was fucking cool. Like it was just, it was a theatrical experience, is what it was. Like, yeah, and that was awesome to watch. And it was, yeah, they couldn't do that in the original trilogy because obviously they didn't have the tech to do it. They did in episodes 1, 2, and 3, and they included it, and they included it in a really cool way that I really liked.
Yeah.
But the whole and the thing is they talk about it in there, but he's already starting to lean into his emotions, and then Hayden Christensen takes over and he's leaning even harder into these emotions that because he's already knows what it is to feel emotion.
Oh, it's almost like he's playing an angsty teenager like Kylo Ren did.
But unlike Kylo Ren,
Yeah,
I
but
found
no, Kylo
the
Ren is
Kylo Ren stuff heavy-handed, is what it was. Like
Well, just to take one step back for a moment,
Contradict yourself.
one thing that I could have seen them doing with Jar Jar that would have changed people's views on him entirely, if instead of in that battle where they had the Jar Jar Binks' racist people there with the king and all that, instead of doing that in English, if they had instead switched to whatever alien language they actually did and had him be incredibly eloquent and all that kind of stuff in that language, it would have changed up people's view of it entirely.
what they're speaking is that's how they speak.
That's how they speak. That is their dialect.
That's
Is
it.
my
That is their
understanding.
dialect.
Yeah.
and that's the thing. You can't subtitle a whole big battle scene like that. Not in a mainstream production like that. Not in the same. Not you. It's gonna lose.
Back then, you couldn't. You could
Yeah.
now.
You probably could now. You're right.
Yeah,
Mm.
but to your point, Tegan, I would closer rate or what was it? I forget the Inquisitor's name, but was it the second? No, third sister,
Third
wasn't it?
sister.
Sorry,
Third sister.
third
Third
sister.
sister.
People disliked her for the exact same reasons they disliked Hayden Christensen, and
No,
people
they
were
didn't.
drawing.
No, they didn't.
Yeah,
They hated her because she's black.
Yep.
Ewan McGregor came out and tweeted his disgust at Star Wars fans
yeah. You're
for their
not
racist views.
correct. You're not wrong. However, there were people complaining about her acting, and there were people not complaining about the
I think
race.
she was fucking brilliant.
Yeah, I agree. I loved her character, but there were
Loved her
people
arc
out
too.
there
Yeah.
complaining about the same things that people complain about Anakin back in episodes 2 and 3, which are again those two characters I believe are closer in resemblance than Kylo Ren and Anakin Skywalker.
Can I just say?
And hang on. What? You believe Third Sister's closer to Anakin than Kylo Ren?
In terms of portrayal of emotion than Kylo Ren.
Because storyline wise, she's closer to Kylo Ren than she is to Anakin.
Correct. Well, yes, but hang on. But in terms of how they're portrayed, Anakin and Third Sister, the emotional nonsense that they display on screen is closer than Kylo Ren and his emotional nonsense.
They also had better training from their mentors and their supports around them. Kylo Ren did not have the same training. He did not have the same support networks. He did not have the same connection to Master and stuff, which is why his behavior comes across as more childish and erratic.
I disagree. In episode 2, Anakin is still Anakin.
Pardon?
Anakin's Anakin. He's not a Sith. He's a Jedi,
Mhm.
and he's all this. He's got good training, right?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. He had
Right.
better training
Yeah.
than Kylo Ren.
However, the second Ben could
and
pick
from
up a lightsaber, he was being trained by Luke.
He was trained as a Jedi.
Yep, same as Hayden Christensen.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. Like the
Anakin.
whole thing with Anakin versus
Better training when he went to the dark side is what I'm saying. Kylo Ren did not have the same supportive, involved dark side master that Anakin did.
Snoke was just a shit.
He
master,
technically
apparently.
did.
He wasn't physically even present in the boy's life. He was a fucking hologram. It's like having a part-time parent over Zoom once a fortnight.
Yeah, but technically they got trained by the same person.
It doesn't matter. Not in the same way. Not in the
Speaking
same
of-
way. When Joey did Taekwondo in lockdown on Zoom, he had the same instructors, but he learnt fucking nothing.
Kylo Ren is a Sith who got trained via Zoom.
I
That is my
came back to a
all-time
great moment.
favorite fucking breakdown of Kylo Ren versus fucking Darth Vader. I love it. That is phenomenal. I'm
He's
gonna
a
have to read
lockdown
his thoughts
Sith.
on that. He's a COVID Sith.
That's it.
That's great.
Why
Yes,
did that
Tegan,
work
high
so
five.
fucking well?
But in
Sorry,
saying that, I believe that once you see 4, 5, and 6 and appreciate them for what they are in all their glory, and then go back and see 1, 2, and 3, and let that hit you too. Those 6 movies
Brilliant.
together, I believe, house the greatest villain we have ever seen. To my memory, as I sit here right now,
You're not going to say who I think you're going to say, are you?
struggle to find a villain who is better than Palpatine.
I 100% agree. I actually really agree with that statement.
I struggle to think of a villain who was better than Palpatine. What he was able to do, how he was able to do it, the success he had, the length of reign. I mean, look at all the angles, I struggle to think of any villain in this moment that is greater than Sidious.
Question.
Yep.
Real or in fantasy world? I can think of a real one.
I'm talking fantasy.
He was basically Hitler.
Yeah. No, so my adult brain and my adult understanding of, manipulation and all that sort of stuff, I really want to agree with you. But nostalgic little 7-year-old Tegan running around who was terrified of Darth Vader still thinks Darth Vader is the scariest villain in the world.
Scariest? Yeah, sure. I mean, he was on screen more. You saw his presence. You saw him,
He scared the shit out of you, man.
Yeah, 100%. I don't disagree with that. But
Yeah.
he's essentially Sidious's lapdog. Like he
Agreed.
is
Oh yeah, 100%.
loyal
He
to a
is
fault.
used by him.
He's
Until-
loyal to a fault. But where do you think I was going to go with that, Tegan? You were afraid of me saying something.
I was afraid of you saying something other than Darth Vader.
So I just
I did. I said
Jar
Darth
Jar.
Sidious.
Oh, I know, because Darth Vader, that's who it is for me. He's the scariest villain, is Darth Vader.
Who was you afraid I was going to say?
I don't know. I
Oh,
was
okay.
very
Sorry,
worried.
Matt.
You're talking about how you think Boba Fett sucks. Of course I'm scared of your
He
opinion
does.
now.
But beyond that,
So can I just say, and we've all seen I'm sure we've all seen the comics and the memes about the fight in episode 4 between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. It's like, remember we used to do cool flips and shit? They're just like doing the fucking like basic fencing. I'm sure we've all seen the jokes of that shit. Can I just say I fucking loved in Obi-Wan when he's fighting the third sister. That scene was phenomenal because she's jumping around, doing the flips, doing the slides, doing all the fucking cool moves, and he's very static in his fighting style at that point because he's just leaning into the Force. And I think that scene, it just ties it together, like ties the continuity together even more. And that is the biggest thing that, Rogue One, the Obi-Wan, Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, all these things are just tying these movies, tying this series in together so well. Like, I still need to sit down at Tina, and I still need to sit down and watch Andor.
I'm really
I
looking forward
haven't.
to that.
I'm struggling. I think I got through episode 1. I can't. I'm struggling hard.
Is that just because you didn't like Rogue One, though?
Okay. Speaking of tying in, and we've got 10 minutes left on the clock. Rogue One.
All right, I'm ready.
I love Rogue One. With the exception of the end of the final scene. The final scene with Vader, I absolutely adore. The fact that they added that in at the last second just puts it even higher up there for me because that is an amazing scene. Seeing Vader come out and just freaking beast mode it up the hallway was phenomenal. However, and I know we've had this discussion, and I know the point that Matt's going to bring up, but I'm going to say it anyway. He's standing on the edge of the platform as the ship flies away. I'm going to come back to his cape flapping in a moment because I'm sick of people saying he's using the Force to be fucking extravagant. No. You see the Americans put the flag on the moon and they twist it to get it into the moon, and the flag keeps swaying massively once it stops. In a vacuum, things keep moving. There's nothing to stop them. So when he moves forward, his cape's going to keep fucking flapping. He's not using the Force to be fucking flamboyant.
I've not heard that. That is
You haven't heard that? It was oh god, it was fucking everywhere for a while.
I tend to stay away from super fans' opinions on the internet because they generally piss me off.
Anyway, to get to
super fast sidetrack. There's an item in D&D called the Cloak of Billowing, and all it does is you can spend your bonus action to make your cloak billow. That is literally the only fucking effect the item has. There's no mechanical advantage. There's nothing in it except like I'm gonna make my cloak billow. So you like stand on a hill and like wood, and it.
Oh dear. Hang on, there's something I gotta look up, but basically.
Go on, tell us.
Finish your point. Finish your point. This thing that you don't like, Kami, and I'll turn around and tell you why you're a piece of shit, and I can prove it mathematically.
Okay, so he sees the ship fly away, and Matt's just waiting. He knows I'm gonna say. He sees the ship fly away. They catch up to that exact same ship. It does not leave their sight. catches up, boards it, and does nothing. When apart from say you're a liar and you're a traitor, when Leia says we're on a diplomatic mission for Alderaan, why did he not just go, bitch, I saw you fucking fly away? Instead, all he says,
doesn't need
he
to.
restrains himself, a Sith restraining himself, saying you're a liar and a traitor, and that's it.
Because openly fucking killing a diplomat, at that point they still don't have, like, they've got like a pretty decent grip on the galaxy, but it's not like a fucking ironclad grip. This is before the Death Star is ready to rock and roll. So at that time, if it
Look, you've made him choke, Kami.
choking on my fucking rage. At that point, if he turns up and kills a fucking diplomat, it is a fucking full-on war. At that point, the Empire 100% become the bad guys. Any of these fucking planets that are like, should we join the rebels or should we like fucking go and join the Empire like we're meant to? As soon as he fucking kills a diplomat, bang, that decision's done. The Empire, the only reason the Empire get the power they do is through like subtle manipulations. There's an entire fucking trilogy about the fact of all these gentle manipulations and gently pushing people to pieces where they want to go. At no point does Palpatine turn around in the first 3 movies until right at the end when he gets jumped on by Jedi and like outwardly turn around and like forcefully take over what he wants. It's exactly like the in
So you might say he was a Sith who was controlling his emotions?
fucking oath. Funny that, yeah. Like, it's again, Sith aren't about just like going full tilt into their emotion, but they're allowed to fucking feel their emotions, and that is the difference between them and the Jedi. They can feel hate, they can feel love, they can feel joy, they can feel all these emotions, and that's what they draw their power from. You could have a Sith that is actually pretty much a good guy, except he feels happiness, he feels love, he does everything driving those
Yep.
with those emotions driving him forward. He would still be classed as a Sith.
That
Just
he
because
would.
he's not murdering fucking younglings in a Jedi temple doesn't stop him being a Sith. And the fact that she does, you're right. He turns up, and what the fuck is he going to do? What, he can't turn around and just murder a fucking diplomat. On top of that, she's already ditched the schematics at that point. So what good does actually killing her do? He goes in and goes, "Fuck you, bitch! I know you're lying." Chop the head off. He needs to get that info from her, and he fucking takes her in
And tortures her.
and tortures her and blows up her fucking home planet. Like, there is all these reasons for him not to just walk in, fucking lightsaber swinging and chop her head off. But he does that for fucking everybody else. Like,
I feel like you had that stored up for me.
Well,
I
Stop!
did.
that's the thing.
Don't bring logic into this.
Yeah, that's the thing. The Jedi, for those who do role playing stuff, the best way to explain it is Jedi is the lawful good of the universe. Anything below that is considered Sith.
Yep.
You must follow the code, you must follow it to the nth degree, you must not feel emotion. It is essentially a regime.
It is absolutely a regime. And it is
Yeah,
absolutely
it's-
brainwashing.
Oh, yeah. All
And the
of
thing is, like, sorry,
Sorry,
Ren, keep going.
you can. I was just going to say, all those happy kids and stuff like that, you see, the younglings, by the time they become teenagers, they have been scrubbed of all emotion.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the thing is, like, Rem, you came out and said it yourself, like, that there's no such thing as a great Jedi, according to George Lucas, like the original creator. But based on how the Jedi Order operate is you're lawful good or you're a Sith. So that means there's all these other spots that sit within Sith. And again, if you're looking at D&D style alignment chart, you could be chaotic good, which means you're going to lean into your emotions, but you still, overall, you would rather help that homeless dude than let him fucking die.
Yeah. Whereas lawful good, he is homeless because he has not worked well enough. He is below me.
Absolutely. Yeah, and but yeah, going back to what we're arguing about, and my whole fucking mic drop point is Leia standing there in front of Darth Vader and turning around and saying, like, "What are you fucking talking about? I was on a diplomatic mission," makes her that much fucking tougher, that much more badass. She's not fucking afraid of this dude who's just walked onto a ship and, like, carve through fucking soldiers left and right. She turns around and stands up to him, fucking toe to toe stands up with him. Sure, he takes her in because he's got the better army around her, but she will still stand up in front of him, toe to toe, and stare that fucker down.
It's what she's been trained for her whole life.
Fucking
She
oath. And
stands
it's who she
put up
is.
against more frightful things, and she would continue to do so.
Yeah. And
I
again,
didn't
those are
hear Tegan
traits
there.
that she those are traits that she gets from her mother, like from Padme, her actual mother, as well as the Organa family that take her in. Like, and again, it shows that it comes back to that nature versus nurture thing, and there are elements of both. Like you look at animals, there's animals inherently know to do stuff, and there are elements of people's personality that can come from nature, just from
Oh, yeah.
just from nature. Sorry. Um, and things like being a sociopath is purely a nature-based thing. Like but having that capability to stand up in front of Darth Vader, who is arguably the scariest known dude in the galaxy at the time, like Sidious is the Emperor, but he's not like out there as like a Sith Lord. He's not
Oh,
publicly
yeah.
out there as a Sith Lord, but he is the fucking Emperor. He is like the elected king, or the communist king of the galaxy.
Mm.
All right.
And yeah, as stated, Darth Vader steps out in more technology than man and is still able to just whoever he wanted to.
Yep.
I think that is why he became such a frightening presence in some of the ways. He was no longer seen as human. Whereas Palpatine, he was the guy in the background.
He was the actual puppet master.
Yeah.
Not even a figurehead. Darth Vader was a figurehead.
Yeah, he was the figurehead.
I have. Sorry, I had to look something up.
Mhm.
Darth Vader. Finishing on this because we've just hit or about to hit 2 hours. So finishing on this, Darth
That's 2 hour
Vader.
cutoff.
Darth Vader being extra, and the true reason why he attempted to kill the Emperor. Okay, as described by someone, not me. I'm stealing this from someone else. So in Rebels, the man flew into an underground temple, standing on top of a TIE fighter. Right, he was also flying with the Force in that moment, and made his cape billow dramatically in the wind. Right. In Rebels. But before that, this person says, I've decided that Darth Vader doesn't actually rescue his son because he experiences a sudden powerful call to the light. Rather, overthrowing his old allegiances at the absolute last moment and sacrificing his life to save his son by destroying his shrieking wizard master in a storm of lightning and blue flame is the most dramatic thing he could possibly do in that situation. And if there's one thing truly left of Anakin Skywalker, it's his instinctual drive to do the most dramatic thing possible at all times.
Absolutely. Look, the thing is, and I will go back, and I hope I never will use the word that he. Sorry, I may have used the words that he turned to the light side, but I don't think I actually intended it that way. I
Oh,
don't know
that was
what I
just
actually
something I've been
said.
looking up, trying to find for a while. That
Oh,
wasn't
no,
in response to you.
absolutely. But yeah, so he's throwing the fight to Luke. As I said, it's still the Sith tendency, but he's choosing the master that he wants to serve, and that master is himself at that point. Yeah, he's going to save his son for his own selfish gain, not for Sidious, not for the fucking dark side, not for the Empire, for his own personal fucking gain is why he throws a fight to Luke.
Fair. Anyway, we're gonna put a pin in it here because we have hit 2 hours. 2 hours 1 minute now to be exact. The stream has gone a bit longer than that, but that's because of the starting soon screen. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Please follow if you haven't already. We failed. We didn't find out who is the cursed bit of furniture, but ultimately,
Ordered at the start.
yep, fine, fair. But I guess most importantly, thank you for hearing us out. Until next time, bye.
So, yeah.
Bye.